navigating your career, investing in your personal and professional development, all while trying to find balance. Balance between being a whole human being, being a father, being a parent, being a career person, while managing your finances and taking care of your mental health can become very exhausting and very overwhelming. The question I have for you today is, what do you do when it all comes crashing down? Hello, fellow trailblazers. Welcome to another episode on My Money Adventures podcast, where we talk about everything personal finance, well-being, and overall wealth creation. My name is Tukiso TK Ntebe, and if you're new to the channel, I welcome you to the Trailblazer community. If you have not yet done so, smash that notification bell and subscribe button to become part of this incredible community where we talk about our financial well-being and life in totality. So in today's episode, we are talking everything career planning, personal development, professional development, but most importantly, mental health. In studio today, I have a dear friend of mine and a brother who is a big advocate for mental health and everything else in between. So without wasting any more time, as is tradition on the podcast, similar to the Label Lion show, we let our guests introduce ourselves. So, my good sir, welcome to My Money Adventures podcast. Who are you for people who do not know you?
Thank you, TK. Finally, we did it.
Finally, you've been hounding me to do this podcast episode for a very long time.
Yeah. My name is Motlalepula Mosoeu. I hail from Maputo, Tycoon land. Disekele. Yeah. I'm a millennial. I'm a father. I'm a husband. I'm a professional. I'm a businessman. And businessman/entrepreneurship, it confuses me.
It shouldn't confuse you, because the one thing that's very popular about the millennial generation, /this, so it's perfectly fine.
Yeah, that's basically where I am. I'm a mental health advocate. Figured it out due to life taking us from zero to hero, or vice versa.
Okay.
Yeah, that's when I started to appreciate this aspect of mental health in my life.
Okay.
Yeah.
So welcome to the podcast. So I'm introducing something very new. It's called, it's almost like a 30 seconds game designed by Nicolette Mashile, popularly known as the financial bunny from South Africa. Met Nicolette Mashile in October 2024 when she was here. So she designed this game called Save or Spend. So it's an equivalent of 30 seconds somewhat, right? So the idea is to test how much you know your financial literacy. And quick disclaimer, I am absolutely terrible at 30 seconds. I'm good at being on the other side, but as a facilitator, so bear with me. Haruto is like we normally would.
Disclaimer as well. Disclaimer. I'm not good at it.
Perfect. So those are 4 questions, right? And I'm going to try to keep them very simple, right? So the first one, again, financial services, right? So your thinking game should be financial services. So the first question is, how you're banking, any bank of your choice, the different cards that they issue you. What's the one that people most brag about or aspire to? What's the color of that?
Black.
Black card. Okay, great. The second question is, it's one for people who are employed or who earn an income. What's that one day they look forward to the most?
Pep day.
Nice. So you mentioned that you are married, right? When you and the spouse sign, what is that process? In fact, let me leave that one because I gave it away. Terrible again. The last one is when you log into your banking apps or whatever what's that word called?
Log into your...
What are you checking for?
My balance.
Nice one! Yeah, that was terrible. But anyway, terrible for me because I literally gave you the answers, but we'll figure it out. Okay, great. So with the financial literacy side done, how would you describe your relationship with money?
I have a very toxic relationship with it.
Toxic?
It's very toxic because that's how I see it.
Okay, elaborate. Okay, how about toxic? A lot comes to my mind. What do we mean by toxic?
Toxic is I know what is right and what is wrong. I know the good and the bad. So I find myself doing the opposite of the good when it comes to financial management. You need to spend within your means. You need to budget. I sometimes just spend without thinking about what I have in my balance. Yeah, in kara mokotla wa ka. I think it's because of the advantage that I have. Yeah, having a credit card. Even when I don't have money, I still have access to credit because of my good credit profile. Credit profile
score.
that I worked hard to
Sure.
to gain. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So I have a good credit score, but the practice, it's an opposite of how a good financial management, personal financial management should be done. Yes.
And being in a toxic relationship with your money, have you had an experience where things really got bad as a result of the toxicity that you have with your relationship? Or have you always been able to pull yourself out of any situation despite the toxicity?
I've always managed to pull myself. I always see the red flags. Unfortunately, I allow myself to see the red flags. And when I'm about to drop, I pull myself out.
Sure.
I'm always on this. Sometimes I let myself to be on a survival mode. So at least I'm able to pull myself back.
Okay.
Yeah.
And today we're talking mental health and finances. There's a very clear link between one's finances and mental health. But before I even get into that, maybe talk us through your academic journey. Where did it start? You mentioned that you're a professional. Talk us through your academic journey. Where did you study? Where did you start to get to where you are today?
I'm a scientist. Saying I'm a scientist, I did my first degree in BSc, Chemistry and Environmental Science at NUL, National University of Lesotho. And then from NUL, National University of Lesotho, I went to the University of the Free State in Bloemfontein to do my postgraduate there. And then from another institute that I went to is the University of Pretoria in Pretoria, where I did two things there, but one I did not finish. I did applied science metallurgy, which I regret doing. I also did furthered my other postgraduate in environmental management as well. And then from there, I went straight into the industry. And in the industry, I joined one of the big mining companies in SA Goldfields, which is now called Sibanye Stillwater, as a graduate trainee there.
Okay. Back to why you regretted studying that. You regretted studying something, and then the other one that you did not finish. Maybe talk us through what was happening. Give us context for now, what was happening when you regretted, but also did not finish one of the qualifications.
Metallurgy, I found it's a very, being a chemist, I enjoyed being a metallurgist because it's application of chemistry. I was doing extractive metallurgy, which is hydrometallurgy, where you apply chemistry to extract gold. In the mine, you mine and then you extract. You mine a mineral that has a gold-bearing mineral. And then from that gold-bearing mineral, you need to extract gold out of there, which is a precious metal that we sell, that the mines sell to generate revenue. So when I was in a plant as a career metallurgist, I realized, no, we are not appreciated as professionals because companies, they can value a person who hasn't studied but who has been long, who understands the process more than you who comes with degrees and qualifications. And the long hours, I wasn't a good fan of the hours that we worked, the shift work that we did. I used to do night shift, day shift, afternoon shift. When you do night shift, you work the whole night. So I didn't like that. There was no flexibility. But the benefit of having studied a double major at the National University of Lesotho, I asked to be moved from the plant to the chemistry lab where I worked as a chemist. And I worked in the lab, but also it became monotonous because it was routine. Luckily, I've always been true to myself. And then I approached my unit manager of the lab. I told her that this is boring for me. Can I move to the environmental department? And then she was like, sure, you can go. That's how blessed I was. And then I moved into the environmental management department. It's called the sustainability department. That's when I got into this environmental management. Where I'm working now, I'm working in the safety, health, and environmental department. Because some organizations, they combine them, they make it one department, like where I'm working now.
Okay.
That's why I'm where I am now and got exposure in safety and health. And then this is what I'm doing now. There's an environmental aspect of it. There's a safety and health aspect of it. Yeah.
You said something very interesting that really got me thinking, Yahore, you are not happy and you spoke up. You went to your unit manager to say, can you move me from this department? First, you didn't like the work shift hours. Please move me to this department. The more I'm actually bored here, and I moved on to the next department. How important is it for professionals to take ownership of their careers? Because of Manora, there's a trailblazer who's watching listening to this podcast, probably sitting in a job, a position, and they're unhappy, but they're also not doing anything to speak up to say, excuse me, I can do this, but I think there's an opportunity for me, money. So how important is it for people to own their personal development and professional careers?
It's very important to be true to yourself because it helps you to avoid a lot of issues, emotional trauma, because a long being depressed and not happy for a long time becomes traumatic. And trauma, which is what we are here about, it changes your behavior because you respond. You can either be angry, and anger is a defense mechanism. Animals, when you see a snake, it demonstrates anger. So when you're not happy for a long time, you have that trauma, and in the long time, in future, that trauma will be triggered, and then you're going to be angry or react in a defensive way when that trauma becomes triggered. So I feel I was wise to myself. I did justice to myself. So I would advise everyone out there: be true to yourself.
Be true to yourself.
Listen to your mamela, your inner voice. And there's always that extra sense that we all possess as human beings. I wasn't happy. I told him, can you move me? Because I'll just be here. I'll come in the morning, go. So I'm not going to be functional. Yeah.
And as a result, over the years, you have become very passionate about mental health. How important is mental health, and what sparked your particular interest to become a big advocate of
mental health? I wish people would understand. We are made up of 3 pillars as human beings. You have your spiritual realm, which is the umbrella, and then you have your physical health, and then you have your mental health, which is the most neglected. We grew up in a very spiritual families. Spiritual can be Christian, Muslim, or the ancestral way that we know as Basotho or as Africans do. And then there's a physical health. You need, physical health, you need to eat well, exercise, to nature your physical health. Spiritual, sleep, enough sleep, 8 hours. And then there's mental health, which is a taboo. For example, in Lesotho, the only word we have that's relative to mental health, but when you look at other ethnic groups, there's English, there's depression, anxiety, PTSD, all those. So mental health for me is very important because you need to nurture it. you need to know yourself, self-awareness, because the person that you are, TK, it's not who you are. You have been molded, you've been modeled, you're the footprint of what you have gone through. You see, when you were growing up, childhood traumas. A word trauma, most people don't. Child trauma again. It's a taboo because trauma can mean many things. So mental health is self-awareness. Self-awareness is knowing who you are. What are your traumas? What made you who you are? Why do you react in a certain way when you are exposed to something? Why do you behave your behavior? Why are you aggressive? Why are you passive aggressive? Why do you like to social isolate? Some people will say, I'm an introvert. Why are you an introvert? They don't know. You might find it's because of what happened to you when you're growing up. So trauma to me, and how I explain it to people, trauma, it's a wound. For example, think of a soccer player. You're playing, there's a match, and then you break your leg. And then you go through rehabilitation, through healing. After you have healed, you're going back to play. You go back to play again. And when you go back to play, the leg that got injured, you'll always protect it because that's a physical trauma. If you have been involved in a car accident, say Lekokwani, we all know Lekokwani has been very prominent, notorious of accidents. So every time you go to that place and then the driver or reckless, you're going to fringe because you have a trauma linked. Yeah, you do this. So that's how emotional trauma is. Emotional trauma can mean many things. Grief can be brought by grief, losing a loved one, emotional neglect. You're a child who was never emotionally taken care of. You were divorced. You were bullied. So it brings trauma. And when trauma comes in, it's that wound that you experience, and that wound manifests itself, and when not managed well, it can be affected. Remember a physical wound, let's say olongwekinja or something. It's in the hospitals we have trauma units. Trauma units and for it to heal. So with emotional trauma, we don't do that. For example, and then the consequences, you self-isolate because you are bullied in that community, you are bullied in that school. You end up being that child you didn't have a good relationship. You had emotional disconnection between you and your father, and then that brings a trauma. So being self-aware is understanding your traumas. The importance of understanding your trauma is that you are able to manage the triggers.
How do I identify the traumas? Because I think the other thing is the word trauma, childhood trauma, it's become a buzzword, especially for millennials, right? So how do I identify that trauma? How do I know? And again, obviously with the help of a psychologist or a psychiatrist, they can help you work through that.
You answered. So let me share about me.
Yes.
In 2020, the company I was working with, we went on a canned maintenance due to the COVID retrenchment. And that's a change in the lifestyle.
Sure.
It brings trauma. It's grief. You used to being a man, you used to have money to provide. Now, house asibets. And hopefully, basebetsi ba di mining, but our languages.
It's money.
It's money.
The love language is money.
Love language is money.
Yeah.
So you think of the debit orders. You think of school fees. That's trauma. That's an emotional trauma. I get it. And that can also, it's a trauma. Or that happening can be a trigger to a trauma that already exists. And how you react to it, most of us, we self-isolated. We isolated from our friends. And that trauma affected me. PTSD, post You know, PTSD.
Post-traumatic
Yeah. For me, it manifested into anxiety, serious anxiety. Anxiety is a symptom of mental health. You worry about the future, yet you're here. You're here physically, but you're not mentally. You're always worried about things failing, things not going well. And it affected me and my behaviors towards my loved ones, towards my friends, and it shifted a lot of structure in my life, and I ended up getting more depressed. It became depression. Now it became depression. And luckily I met someone who said, my wife at that time was already going through therapy as well. Then I went to a psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist booked me into a mental health institute. Ke kene mohlomi in ka Sesotho. Lesotho mana re ke mohlomi ho thwe ke a hlaya. Mane, it's a mental health institute. I was booked for 3 weeks, and that's when it made more sense. Oh, there's a psychiatrist, there's a psychologist, there are therapists. All these people are different. You are there for 3 weeks. Every day, you're like at school from 5. We woke up at 5 a.m. We went to bed at around 8 p.m. And there are sessions. Every hour is booked. You meet your psychiatrist, you meet your psychologist, you meet your therapist. Because I'm a father and I'm married, I also had a social worker and different therapists. That's when I understood, what's the difference between a psychiatrist and a psychologist. And a psychiatrist uses pharmaceutical medicine to help you heal, while a psychologist, it's verbal. They talk to you. And her approach to me was hypnotism. She hypnotized me, and hypnotism helped me because she took me back
to the
younger James. And all the traumas that I went through came up. One was when I was 5 years. The other one was when I was around 10, 11. The other one was just when I finished at now, when I lost my father. The other one was many others. And on each episode, she noted, and then she was able to talk me through. And those are your traumas. You need to, the reason that we are doing this is for you to identify your traumas. For example, what happened in 2008 after finishing my first degree, my dad got sick. And I had to be with him throughout. My mom would Lesotho mona, my dad nasebenza di-mining kwa until a hlokahala. You can imagine so hlatswa ntate wa hao mo teng sa dinepe. But I was strong. I always said ho fihlela hlokahala. All the episodes tsa Bukulo behind everything, it was just me and him. I had a friend, Kheta Makula. He drove all the way from Mafeteng to come and be with me as a support. And we prepared the funeral and everything. That was trauma. You know, when did it come back? It came back last year. My mom got sick. Instead of me going home to be there for my mom, I always sent my cousin brother or my uncle or my auntie, because I have this fear of it's a trigger. I have fear of close ones being sick. This year, Olakula happened a couple of times until my therapist amposa. Why do you have a fear of sick people? No, because I'm busy. No, you're not busy. Let's sit down. Let's unpack. And when we unpacked, because of the trauma, the grief of losing your father in the process that happened, and I check in my family what happened when my wife was sick, I would dive and try to run away. Always keep myself busy, going business, do business trips,
providing the money.
Money was the solution. Money was the solution, but I wasn't there. So that's an example of what trauma can do to you.
Cole, you've literally unpacked so much, and Hakim Amiti, I don't know if you were getting emotional. I was starting to get very emotional because I was starting to think of some of the things that have triggered, maybe to not that extent, but some of the things that have triggered my own issues, having gone to therapy. Okay, so I like the fact that earlier on you mentioned, you were checked into Mohlomi, which has a very negative perception about into abahlanya, or batho bahlanya. How have you dealt with that perception? How's firstly going to therapy? A lot of guys our age and those that come after us, there's a very negative perception here how we are to therapy or to seek mental health services. Essentially stigma. Second, you were checked into Mhlomi, which even has a more negative stigma of wahlai. So how did you deal with that perception, the taboo, Motlalepula o ile fitleng sa mahlanya, as we call it, How did you navigate that?
You know a concept called the red car theory. The red car theory is today, from your place to here, how many red cars did you see?
Probably saw I lost count. I can't say.
You see, you can't say.
I can't say.
But from today, if I said to you, for every red car that you see, I'm going to give you 100 maluti.
Okay.
What's going to happen?
I'm definitely going to see that.
Yeah. So for me, I'm blessed to taking opportunities. That's a relationship. We always have opportunities, but we don't take. We always have opportunities coming our way. Any event or anything that there's always an opportunity in it. So for me, this mental health thing, I saw a business opportunity. I saw an opportunity to preach about, to be a custodian in mental health. And all the social groups that I'm in, my friends know WhatsApp groups. Everyone knows Mosoeu. Mental health. So I started preaching it so that I help other people. Because the more I preach and talk about it, I'm also healing. Because healing is also important. Healing, when you have a trauma, you first deal with the pain, right? The second step is allowing yourself to be exposed to the same thing that caused the pain to you. So that's when I realized that there's an opportunity in this. There's an opportunity to help people. There's a business opportunity as well. And I started reading, I started continuing going through therapy and seeing ideas of business, like I'm saying. So it didn't become a taboo to me. For me, so it became,
popular.
I'm going to make money here. I'm going to make it popular.
Sure.
You see? And perception of, I turned the perception into a business. I turned the taboo into a passion.
Into a passion.
Yeah.
A passion, an income generating passion.
Yes, an income generating passion.
Okay.
And disclaimer, I'm not I'm not a qualified psychiatrist or what.
You're an advocate of mental health.
I'm an advocate.
You spark conversations.
Yes.
You encourage people. You basically make you share your story and you encourage people to talk about mental health by bringing awareness.
Yeah.
And somehow you get paid to speak.
Yes.
Right. Talking about that side of it is talk us through your newfound passion that you're monetizing within the mental health space. Yeah, awareness. You are coaching people. You are sparking conversations. You are speaking as a mental health. I don't even want to say not victim. Mental health advocate, wellness. Corey, talk us through your coaching program. I know you've started a lot of initiatives where you get invited to speak, coach, train, bring awareness on mental health. Talk us through that journey. What
also triggered that is, in the position that I am, I'm a leader at work. And TK leadership. It's not for
the faint-hearted.
You can be technically good, but leadership, managing people. For the first 6 months, 8 months, I was in flames. And then I was like, what brought me back into this mind is I wanted to nurture my leadership skills because I've been around in the corporate SA and Lesotho. The only thing that I lacked was leadership, management.
Technically, you were solid.
Technically, I'm sorted.
Okay.
That's why I came. One of the reasons why I came back, also because of mental health. Also, why I came back. I started reading, getting more, and engaging with my therapist. And then she was like, "Look, leadership is all about behavior management. You getting into your subordinates' mind and understanding why they are doing what they are doing, why they are reacting the way they are reacting." A concept of mwetsi le mwetsu, between mwetsi le mwetsu, on that dialogue, depending how le mwetsi ke le mwetsu, ha se re qabane, who do you blame? I always tell people I blame mwetsu because mwetsu determines the direction of the dialogue. So you need to get into Mwetsi's shoes so that you understand why she or he is doing what he is doing. And I found out that it's all related to it's all mental health. It's all about triggers. We trigger one another. We all have traumas. So as long as we are working there, we'll keep on triggering each other. And when a trauma is triggered, behavior changes because of that. And fight or flight. Ne? Then I started getting into that, started reading concepts. There's a concept called the 5 dysfunctions of a team. Started applying it on my team. It talks about absence of trust. I was like, oh. So my team, this is the team. Is my team dysfunctional or functional? One can make the team dysfunctional. Then I saw its absence of trust. Starts with trust, cascades down to not the department not delivering on doing what they're supposed to be doing. Conflict management is all about mental health. If my team members there's a conflict between them, I apply a concept that I learned in therapy through my therapist. The first step is to mirror what mwezi kapo. If you confront me, I first have to mirror you. To mirror you is to assure you that what you're saying I'm hearing. And then after I mirror you, I have to validate your feelings that my actions have triggered. After validating that, I need to show empathy to you. Even if you have misinterpreted me, I need to mirror you, validate you, and show empathy. Sometimes I even have to show compassion on top of empathy because there's a difference between empathy and compassion. Empathy is to say, I hear you. Compassion is to even make an action of pulling out a person. And then the next person will, after doing that, you'll feel that, yeah, I've been hurt. My issues are being addressed. Then you have an opportunity to say, by the way, I didn't mean that. You thought I was going south, while in actual fact, I was going north. Instead of saying, when I say, why did you do this to me? I didn't mean it. You didn't address my issues.
You didn't address the issue.
You didn't. Next time I spray something, you brush me. The third time, I'm not going to come to you. Because I don't trust. I can't be vulnerable to you. I cannot confront you because you will not address my issues. You see, I learn things like that. And that's what I do to my team. But because I also tell them that no one is perfect. We are going to keep on triggering each other. But when there's a conflict, keyword is when I do my coaches, my training, I tell them, let's embed it in culture. Let's make it fun. Just say one trigger. Couple. Validate. It's a keyword.
Sure.
Already a person
gets into
that.
I love that.
Yeah, those are good concepts that you learn when you go through therapy. That I learned being self-aware. I also found out that I'm very passive-aggressive.
Passive-aggressive.
Yeah. Passive-aggressive. I always thought I'm not, but the exercises done then
So you find yourself, you
I found
discover
myself.
yourself, you see yourself,
Yes.
the blind spots, the good side of you, everything else.
Yes.
Sure. Talking about mental health, coaching, and business entrepreneurship, today's episode is sponsored by TKO Financial Wellness and Advisory. If you don't know what TKO Financial Wellness does, this company, if you don't know what TKO Financial Wellness and Advisory does, this episode, if you don't know what TKO Financial Wellness and Advisory does, we provide financial coaching, financial planning services, corporate wellness, including mental health, where James is part of the team to help corporate organizations and individuals navigate their mental health. Of course, if you still need more information, we're going to plug a video telling you about this amazing organization shortly, right?
We will help you navigate the complexities of managing finances. Imagine tailored financial solutions and transformative educational programs designed to eradicate financial uncertainty. We aren't just consultants. We are dedicated partners accompanying you on your journey to financial freedom. TKO Financial Wellness, where your success is our decisive victory.
So, getting back to the episode, you spoke about reading a lot of principles, right? A lot of books and learning different concepts. How, personally, Kiletukiso, I struggle to finish a book lately. I don't know if I'm too distracted, but Kibanabuka 10 pages and I move on to the next page and so on and so forth. Firstly, why is it important for you to read from a professional and personal development perspective? And how do you nurture the discipline to read as many books as you read?
I'm like you. Keeping up with the hard copy or soft copy, it's so difficult because of my busy schedule. So the solution that I found was do audiobooks because I travel a lot. My family is in SA. I use audios. When I get into the car, I plug my audiobook and I'll listen to that book from Lesotho to home. No music. It's just me and the book.
So basically, I should cut the music.
Cut the music. Cut the music. Because through that, you learn a lot. I learned the concept, the 5 dysfunctions of a team. And that has been my value proposition. That has been my selling point with my already clients that I've dealt with and potential ones that are coming. Bringing the concept of 5 dysfunctions of a team. What are the 5 dysfunctions of a team? And how do you say a team is dysfunctional or not? And what can make a team not functional? And there's a book. It's there online. It's there, Kumbooks. It's called The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. It's a concept that is well known in the corporate industry. I'll make an example of a functional team. A football team. It's a functional team because each and everyone in that team, they understand their roles. They defend together. They attack together. You'd find a defender scoring, you'd find a striker defending. That's how a team has to be. Let's take a country, for example, right? Before I get to that, let's take a concept. We as not Basotho, let me not say Basotho. Every country, the nation, their project, their clients. The client has a vision of having a country that corrupt less, no criminal record, good health sector, good education, more jobs and everything. And then they sell this vision to a project manager. They appoint a project manager, they sell this. And a project manager can be IEC. Hey, as a country, this is our vision.
Sure.
And then IEC maybe puts it on the tender, invites architects to come, say, the project, I have this client, they want this. And then the architects are the political parties in each country.
We can do this.
Yeah, we can do this. They will campaign. This is how we're going to deal with this. This is how we're going to manage corruption. This is how we're going to improve employment. And they campaign. And once they campaign, the Electorate Company Commission sets a date. It's like an interview.
Sure.
where we as the nation, or a nation, in any country, they go and vote, like they go and, tendering,
vote,
yeah.
yes.
And then once they appoint an architect who is aligned to their vision, the political party takes power, goes into government, and once they go into government, you get a contractor. You're a project manager. You're a client, you get a project manager appoints architect finds a contractor. Contractor is the government department. That's where a team comes in. The leader is who? The president or a prime minister in other countries. A leader can be a CEO in a corporate company. So it's a team. That team has to be functional. It has to work like a football club. And a leader works on the strategy, brings the strategy to the floor. And then the government departments are technical experts who would make this team functional. Technical experts, say a department of water affairs, let's assume this is a bus. They look after the wheels, everything that has to do with wheels, alignment, brake pads. And then labor, it's the engine. Another department is the gearbox. Another department is lighting. And the role of this bus or this car is to move from point A to point B. Are you aware that for this team or for this bus to move from Maseru to Mafdeng, everyone has to do his role?
Kind of reminds me of the Ferrari advert, team building something, literally where they managed to change
Pit stops.
Yes, yeah, kind of vibes. Yeah.
So are you aware that if each department does not do their job, this bus will not get to the final destination.
Sure.
That country will not deliver on the issues or on the things that they have promised their client, who is the nation. So each and every team member who is a technical expert, they need to do their roles. They need to understand the vision and the strategy, and they need to deliver. If they do not deliver, it will not go there. That's where the 5 dysfunctions of the team comes. For a team to be dysfunctional, most of the teams that are dysfunctional, you find there is absence of trust within the team, or from the team, which is the government department, and the leadership. You see, where there is absence of trust, there's fear of conflict, which is dysfunction too. And there's fear of vulnerability. Why? Say, for example, a certain department, their role is to look at the wheels or the lights. Let's say the lights. And they know they didn't do their job. And we drive to Mafdeng, we come back at night. When the leader, who is the president, tries to switch on the lights, nothing. Are you going to get to your destination? Who hasn't done the job?
Goes back to conflict, number one.
Yes.
And then accountability.
Yes. So where there's fear of conflict also, there is lack of commitment. And where there's lack of commitment, there's avoidance to accountability. And where there's avoidance to accountability, there's inattention to the results. Why? The main thing, the hierarchy of controls, right? The base is trust. There are many ways that you can lose trust. That's where mental health comes in. If you're not self-aware as a leader, for example, or as a team member, if you don't know your traumas, because at work we trigger each other, you'll be triggered and then you respond in anger and then disrespect your boss, for example, who is the president. And if he is not self-aware, he will use the advantage of his position. And when he does that, or when she does that, the behavior triggers you. And you get triggered as well. Your behavior changes, your attitude towards this role, this boss, which is the government. And when your attitude, that's where lack of commitment comes in. That's where fear of vulnerability comes in. And then you trigger, because he's the leader. He wants everything to function. If it doesn't function, someone must be accountable. So where there's no trust, accountability won't be there.
Sure.
You see, it becomes what is called a loop of doom. I trigger your trauma, your behavior changes. Your behavior triggers me, your behavior, it becomes a loop. Even in marriage, that's what happens. People who are not self-aware, that's where mental health comes in.
Sure.
You see, that's what I talk about in my coaching, in my talks, that as a member of the team, you need to understand your roles. You also need to understand that if you don't pull your socks, this won't go. And there'll be poor services. In most of the African countries, service delivery doesn't exist.
Sure.
Because the nations are, if you can look at Africa, we are very disgruntled. A lot. Leadership is a problem. Trust is the root cause because there is lack of trust.
And imagine a case where if I don't trust someone or I don't trust a situation, I behave very differently.
Yeah.
Because I'm always on the defense. I'm always on the, I get to know anything that happens, I'm literally on the edge. Whatever situation comes my way, happy. So now I'm talking, if I don't trust that you're going to be there at 10 or at 12, and you've done this consecutively, like I can say and the behaviors I exhibit there as a result of that will be very, very different from or something will happen. Sure.
And where you trust here, there's no fear of being vulnerable.
Sure.
You can be vulnerable. Hey, leadership. Hi. Ke a bona ga tsamaya. A tsaya I ke a checka the brick pads.
Ha re pote before
Hey,
situation.
that's that you hesitate to ask for help hangata to provide constructive feedback high. And where there is lack of trust, we fail to tap into all opinions. As a team, we only go with one. Bilane high.
Ownership as well.
So that's where mental health comes in. Then that's the concept that I instill to any team, and people have to understand government is a team that has to deliver, that has to serve the client. The client, it's the nation. The contractors, they need to build that house to the specifications of the architect.
Of the architect.
Yeah, if you don't build it to the specifications of an architect, it will crumble down. It will.
Talking about crumbling down, where there is no trust, no communication, how do you or Motlalepula find balance between, I know I've seen from your socials and just how we've spoken, how present you are as a father, right? And how you are involved in your daughter's upbringing, whether it's her musical lessons, swimming lessons, whatever she is interested in. How do you find that balance between being a present father to being a professional to also pursuing your entrepreneurial pursuits? You do a lot of things. Balance, bringing mental health into that. How important is it to be present in any situation or setting that you're in?
Is to show up and being transparent. These Gen Alphas, our kids are the Gen Alphas. They're expressive, they talk, they have opinions. And I've learned to be open to her, to allow her to be my friend. And I do not cut her off when she is expressing herself. And I show up. She's a gymnastics. She does gymnastics. She does music. She does swimming. So when I'm home, I show up. And unfortunately, because of the logistics and everything, sometimes I miss a lot of her upbringing. But when I'm around, I show up and I get involved. And the good thing is, even her mother also she encourages that, and we talk every day, in the morning, when they go to school, at night before she sleeps. And I try to make time. It's not easy balancing in this modern age, because you need to put food on the table, you need to be a father, you need to be a husband, you need to be a son to your mother. So being self-aware is saying, I'm not going to be able to come, guys. Why? No, I need to rest. I'm about to drop down. Be assertive about everything that you do or say. Say it as it is. Most of the time, teach people how to love you and how you want things to happen. Aspects of love language. Try to know your partner's love language. It's part of mental health, so that you know exactly how to love that person. They know how to love you. And most people don't understand the concept of love language. Love language is feeling someone's cup of love when they are down. So knowing that I haven't been around, I'm going to use this love language.
So if I'm hearing you very well, and you'll correct me, have a gift for Caesar Guy, what you're saying, couple of my takeaways from this conversation is, from a mental health perspective, spend time knowing yourself, your past, your traumas, your pain, and working through them, right? Because how we zip, then how you show up, like you're rightfully saying, how you show up because you know how to communicate your love language. You are very empathetic and understanding to understand the other person's love language, and therefore how you behave also shapes how you show up, whether it's in work, in relationships, in your own life, in friendships, at the government level. Because how like Prime Minister was a TV, therefore the trickle down effect. So basically self-awareness and knowing yourself, and knowing, this is who I am, this is the pain I've carried, I've healed, and these are my triggers. So that it does not spill over into the other person's. That
we both do. Yes. Yeah, you're right. Self-awareness will help. Being self-aware and knowing yourself will help you in any engagement or any relationship with your daughter, colleague, your mother, whoever. When you're self-aware, it will manifest, and it will improve it, because you know what triggers you. And then some issues you cannot run away from, so you need to know how to the hierarchy of control: prevention, minimization, avoidance. Some triggers you cannot run away for, but knowing them, you calm down, and then shout. You don't allow the anger to come out. You keep quiet. God, let me be still. Because
breathe in, breathe out, and then respond. It's only half mana email when it's what. Okay, cool. I think we are running out of time. We're out of time. For people who have watched this episode and are interested in working with you from a coaching point of view, where do they find you?
On social media. They're on my Facebook, Mapuka. It's Galerato Mapuka Mosoeu. And Instagram, I'm also there, Mapuka Mosoeu. Those are the two platforms that I'm available. You also know Let's Make Lesotho Famous. Sure. You can catch me there as well. It's one of my platforms. Yes.
Okay. All right. So thank you so much for watching this episode. If you have missed out, you have the entire episode, which is available on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. So make sure that you go over there, listen to the podcast, leave a review, or ask your questions, and I'll forward them to Motlalepula. And of course, if you are also new to the community, we do have a learning portal called mymoneyadventures.com, where you can access our blogs, our online courses, our podcasts, and many other resources, our newsletter as well, where we talk everything personal finance and well-being. Do not forget to leave a comment, share this episode with family and friends who can benefit from it, but most importantly, also subscribe to the channel, because the more you subscribe, the more we can reach more people and the more we can create better quality conversations and content to help you navigate any aspect of your life, whether it's finances, well-being, or of course, wealth creation. A big thank you to you for sharing your story. It's not easy to openly speak about your experiences on a podcast, sharing it for the public. So thank you very much for coming through on a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
This afternoon now. A big shout out to my creative team behind the lens, Titan Lens Photography. Shout out to them. And of course, on audio, my amazing sound engineer, Biza Streets. He's just incorporated this company. I'm putting it on blast. It's officially registered as a company. So a big shout out to Biza Street. And a big shout out to you guys for always showing up and engaging with us every single time. And I think the one person that I need to thank again, me. Me. Guys, I work so hard to bring this amazing content, to mobilize resources, to get this team to produce this episode, to find amazing guests like Motlalepula. So do not forget to celebrate me. Thank you for being an amazing host of the show. To all my trailblazers who are out there doing the most, take care of your mental health. Remember that it's okay not to be okay. If you are not okay, acknowledge it, get the help that you need. There are amazing psychologists available in the country. Psychiatrist Mosoeu is also available for your mental health wellness and many other resources. Do not suffer in silence. Ask for help, whether it's financial planning, mental health coaching, business coaching, whatever the case may be. It's okay not to be okay. And when you are not okay, allow yourself the grace to deal with that situation. Until the next episode, I will love and leave you right here. Remember that money is an adventure, and of course, money is a ride. Wait, what is it? Money is an adventure. Let's enjoy that ride. Love, peace, and happiness. See you in the next episode. Signing out. Cheers.